Okay, thank you. Привет. Okay, wow, got it. This is the only word I can say in Russian. So I'm going to speak in English, but in French English, so I'm sorry for that. I hope you will be able to understand me. So I'm David Pilato, and I have been working for Elastic for around 4 years now. So basically, don't trust me. Try everything by yourself, and because I can. Okay, cheat maybe. No, I'm not, really. Actually, this talk is based on my own experience when I was working at the French Customs Services, when I put in place Elasticsearch, and I had this need to move from a SQL-based application to Elasticsearch. And today, we are going about another use case. The use case is about marketing data. Let's say that we are collecting information about persons, people, and we have some information like the birth date, the name, the gender, number of children, that kind of stuff. Marketing data as well, like how many times my user click on the cars button on my mobile application, for example. We are collecting those metrics. And we already have a SQL-based application which is running, and we want to move the search part using a real search engine. So the application we have today is like this. You have basically a web application running here in a Tomcat container, for example. This application is sending and storing data inside a MySQL database. And we have also a REST interface on top of that. And I built an AngularJS application. It's not that legacy application, right? So it's modern tools. I didn't use old GSP stuff because the purpose of the talk today is about the backend and not about the front end. So this is the reason we have that. To manage our person, we have 4 types of bins. We have a bins named person here. So these bins contain information like the name, date of birth, gender, and so on. We have also an address bin, and we have also our marketing counters I mentioned before. If we look at the schema we have in the database, it's super similar. We have a table for person, and a join on address table, and then a join on marketing table. So this is super simple. I'm going to show what we have now. If you want to reproduce everything, you can fork my GitHub repo and then just check out, read the instruction, and you will be able to do exactly what we are going to do now. You will see again this URL later, so don't worry if you don't have enough time to take a picture now. Picture, okay? You can switch. Waiting, okay? So the application is running here. I launched it using, okay. I launched it using my ID here. And if I look at my application, so I have a simple search part. I didn't inject anything yet, so I need to inject first some data. So for that, I'm going to use a random generator. It's going to generate randomly some person in the database and push that to MySQL. So let's run that. So you can see we are injecting some data here. While this is injecting, we can start searching. Okay, I can search for Joe. It's like the Google search here I have, right? I can search in the name field. I can search in the country field, probably. Yeah, that kind of stuff. I have also an advanced search feature. Here, I can search explicitly on the name field. So Joe here. I want to have Joe living in Italy and Ischia. Okay, so this is what we have. Let's have a look at the code. So the first search we have seen, the like Google part, is all by this method. So I'm in the search DAO implementation here, and I have this method. From the interface, I'm coming with the query the user entered. and also I can deal with pagination here. And I'm using Hibernate behind the scene to connect to my database. So I'm generating here a Hibernate query. What does it look like? So I'm using a like person query here. I need to join on the address field. And if I find what I'm searching for in the name field or address.country or address.city, then I will get back the result. So this is basically how it works. If we look at the advanced search part, from the interface, we are getting the name field, the country field, and the city field. So if I have anything in name, then I'm searching only in name field. Same for country, same for city. Okay? So this is what we have now. Okay, move back to slides. We need to answer a question first. What are the problems we have to face here with that SQL-based search? Let me give you some examples. So this is a simple table. I have two fields inside, name and comments, and I'm inserting 4 documents in my database, right? So David Pilato, developer at Elastic. Malum Leia is a friend of mine. We work together at the French Customs. So work with David at French Customs Services as a comment. David Gageot, I don't know if you know him, famous guy, working at Docker. David, unknown guy, but okay, who cares? Let's do a simple search. Let's say that my user enter David in my application and I want to search for David. If I search for David, obviously, this is not going to match, right? It does not match. How to fix that? We can use a like %. We can wrap what the user is searching for with % and say, okay, I'm finding the information. Okay, that's working. Let's take another example. I want to search for David Pilato now. Okay, this is working, like %, again, I can omit the % in the middle, I can put a space here if it can work, but okay. But what if my user search for Pilato David instead of David Pilato? This is not going to work, right? But my user exists in my database. I know he's here, but this is not going to work. How we can fix that? Maybe we can split what the user has entered and do multiple queries with a name like Pilato or name like David, for example, and we can find that. But we have to deal with this information. Another example, we want to search in 2 fields here. We want to search in the name field and in the command field. Okay, so this is not an issue. I'm searching for David again in the 2 fields, and I'm getting back all my information. But what would happen if I have millions of lines or billions of lines? What is the most relevant information here? The most relevant information here is probably not the second line. We can see here, my laser is not working well. So it's not the second line, but it's probably the 4th line, because searching and finding the information I want on the name field is probably more relevant than on the command field. So I would like to get this information back first. And this is really difficult to find the information you need if you are using a SQL-based database, because there is no notion of relevancy here. And it's like searching here a needle in a haystack, right? You need to find the right needle. If you have billions of documents, that would be an issue. How do you deal with typos? Are you going to use a question mark for whatever letter and try to replace that? No, it's really not efficient. And think about that your database or your application is really popular and you are injecting a lot of data every time. Can you search while you are injecting the new data at the same time in a performant manner? Maybe you are able to search on 1,000 documents, 100,000 documents, maybe 1 million documents, but what about 1 billion documents? What about petabytes of documents, right? So why, actually, for searching, you would use a data store? Why not searching with a search engine? And this is what we are going to do today. So let's say we have Elasticsearch. Obviously, I'm going to choose Elasticsearch as the search engine, because this is the best tool ever, right? I'm biased, I told you. Let's say we have Elasticsearch running, and we want to connect our application to Elasticsearch. How can we do that? We can use the ETL tool. So ETL tool will basically extract data from a source. Here it will run a query against the database. It will transform the data as JSON document here, and then it will push and load the data to Elasticsearch. You can use Mule ESB, Talend, those are really great tools for that, if you wish. But we have a problem here. And what is the problem? ETL tool is going to run in a batch mode, which means that we are maybe going to run this query every 5 minutes. And what happened? My user just entered a data, he will be able to search for it only 5 minutes after it has been entered. So it's not really ideal. And what about delete? I want to remove something in the database. When I'm going to run the select query again, I need to be aware that I need to remove something that is not coming back. This is super tricky to solve. You can use a technical table, but you can use triggers maybe, but this is really complex. So my favorite way of doing that is to do a direct connection between the application and Elasticsearch. If you can do that, do that. That's really definitely better. So when you have your, let's say, bin in your application, within the same transaction, when you are loading this bin to the database, just, what's the word? Transform it to JSON documents and push it to Elasticsearch within the same transaction. Actually, why would you read the database 5 minutes later? It's already in memory. You just have to transform and push. Okay? Before doing that, I want to highlight one of the points. When you are coming from a relational model and you try to adapt to document-oriented database or systems like Elasticsearch or MongoDB or whatever, you have to think about the model, because this is the different mindset. Instead of, for example, having one document per table and try to make join in memory, this is a bad design. You should think about objects, documents. So instead of that, let's say that I'm going to create one single document which has all the information I need. And this is important. When you think about a search engine, you have two questions to ask yourself. What I'm searching for. Here I'm searching for person, so I'm going to index person. And what do I need to search for those persons? What are the fields I need? For example, if I want to search here for people living in France, then I need to index the country within the document. And I don't care about repeating myself 1 million of times. This is not the issue with a search engine. Let's do that now. So I'm going through several branches. Actually, I'm not going to check out the branches, but this is my B plan if anything goes wrong, right? But this is also something you can do by yourself, and just look at the README. Everything is explained in the README, so you can reproduce all that. And now, the live coding part. Wow, sounds awesome. Okay, so I want to add Elasticsearch on my project. I'm using Maven here. So the first thing I need to do is to add Elasticsearch as a dependency. I'm going to use the latest version of Elasticsearch. I hope I don't have to download Earth. Okay, that's okay. And now I can start to implement my application, my code. I didn't show you previously, but this is how I'm saving a person in the database. So on my service layer, I'm starting a transaction in Hibernate, and then I'm calling my DAO to save the database, and then I'm committing the transaction. That's basically what I'm doing. So here I want to also index something into Elasticsearch. So I'm going to create a new class, Elasticsearch DAO, and I want to save my PersonDB object. Why the PersonDB? Because I'm going to use behind the scene the ID that has been generated by Hibernate to use the same ID for Elasticsearch. This is simple as that. So I need to create this field. It will be a final Elasticsearch DAO class. Okay. I need to create that class now in DAO package. Okay. I'm using here a framework named Restix. So I have some annotation to make that automatically injected. So here I'm using the component annotation. What I need to do, yes, in my person service class here, I need to inject that component. So Elasticsearch DAO here. So it will be automatically injected by Restix. Let's put that here. This Elasticsearch DAO equal my DAO. Oops. Here we go. Okay. I need now to implement this save method. Let's create that. Okay. Going to use person. First, to do that, I need an Elasticsearch client, and I need to build this client. So let's add private final client. Here we go. ES client. So that will be my Elasticsearch client. And I need to build it. So public Elasticsearch DAO. How I can build my client? I can use a class we have in the transport artifact we have. The name is the pre-built transport client. So for now it's a bit verbose, but maybe we are going to fix that later. So I don't have any settings to provide here. And I need to declare on which machine and port Elasticsearch is actually running. So I need to add the transport address. And for that I need, this is where it's a bit verbose. I need a inet socket transport address, and then I need a new inet socket address. Okay. And now, what is the machine? So it's running locally. And by default, Elasticsearch is starting on port 9300 for the Java communication. Okay, I have a client now. What do I need? Oh, yeah, it's set. What do I need? I also need to have something which is able to transform my bin to JSON documents. And for that, I'm going to use Jackson, the library. It's really useful for that. And as it's already existing in my Restix application, I'm just going to inject that here. Object mapper, this dot mapper equal mapper. Okay. Now I can start to implement my save method. So I need to transform my bin into JSON documents. So write as so we are going to either choose if you want to write the JSON document as a string or bytes. Here I'm going to use bytes, but whatever, you can use string if you wish. So this is my person object. This can throw an exception. Why not? Let's verify that. And this is my bytes array. Okay, I have a JSON document now here. I need to send that to Elasticsearch. So let's index a new index request. What I need to provide, what is the index name? Elasticsearch is multi-tenancy, so within the same cluster you can index multiple kind of data. What is the type of my document? And what is the ID of the document, which is the one we have generated by Hibernate before. So we are going to use this ID as string. Obviously, we need to provide the JSON document itself. So using source here, this is my JSON document. And now I need to execute that let's call action get. So with those 2 lines, I transform a bin to JSON, and the second line, I send the JSON document to Elasticsearch. That's all. Basically 2 lines of code. Let's compile that. It should not compile, I think. Yeah. Why this? Okay, we are raising an exception here. So this is something maybe important we have to solve. Let's say that something bad is happening when you deal with Elasticsearch. What you can do with this exception? You can do something like, okay, Hibernate, I want to do something like roll back the running transaction and cancel everything. But I don't want to do that here, because I think that persisting the data in the database is really much more important than having the search engine working. So I don't want to lose what the user entered. So I'm just going to log here. Log, error. You can send this information to a message queue system, to whatever, but okay, let's log. We have a problem with the ID, okay. So ask your ops guy then to look at the logs and fix that. Okay, let's have a look at the delete operation. It's super similar. I told you that it's most easier. It's easier actually to delete the document in Elasticsearch within the same transaction as we have. So here in the delete operation, when I'm deleting the person from the database, I can also call Elasticsearch here and call delete person by the ID I have. And I can implement that, create this method, ID. Oops. Who cares? I'm going to call the client. What is the operation I need to do? I need to run a delete request. Delete operation with a delete request. I'm deleting from an index named person. The type, again, is person. And the ID is the one I got from the service. I can execute that and get the result back. Okay. That's a lot. Let's do that simple. Okay. So same here, I need to wrap that with a try catch and so on. Okay, we are almost ready now. I think this is compiling. Yeah. I'm going to restart the application. Okay. Obviously, what I need to do is to start Elasticsearch. So here I have a normal Elasticsearch installation, nothing fancy. So this is the latest version again. So I'm just starting Elasticsearch, and Elasticsearch will start to listen on 2 ports. So the 9300 for Java serialization, so for the Java client here, and 9200, which is the REST API. I'm also going to start another tool named Kibana. So Kibana is a front end we have built at Elastic. It's open source as well, and you can use that to make sense of your data and to explore your data. But this is not the purpose of the talk today. Today I'm going to use Kibana just to have access to a cool tool. The name is console. And with this console I can run some queries within the cluster. So for example, what are the current indices I have in my cluster? I don't have a person index yet because I need to inject data into Elasticsearch. So I'm ready. The application has started, I think. So we can, again, try to inject 10,000 documents. Let's do that. Okay. And if we look at what we have in Kibana, we can see that the index person is now created. And if we run some simple search, here, search for everything, we are using the REST interface, I can see some of the documents that has been generated so far. So here, the total number of documents is that one. If I refresh, I have more than that. So those are the JSON documents of the person bin we have generated before. I can search for an explicit term here. So in the name field, I'm only searching for Joe people. Okay, it's working. But still, on our application, here, if I'm searching for Joe, I'm still using the database here. I didn't change for now the search part. So we need to do that. Okay. Let's go back to the code. So in the person service, I have this search method, and I'm going to replace all that. So I was calling here the find like Google thing, and now I want to do something else. So first, I need to build a query for Elasticsearch. So let's build a query builder. Which one is that? I hope it's this one. It is. Okay. Query. Let's say that the user did not enter anything in my text box. Strings.stextq. In that case, I want to build a specific query. The query name is matchall, which means give me everything you have. Simple as that. Otherwise, I'm going to use another kind of query. Let's use again my query builders. And I'm going to use the simple query string query. I want to search for a given text that my user entered. And I want to search this text in some fields. So, for example, I want to search in the name field, in the gender field, in the address.country field, and the address.city field. Okay. And now let's use our DAO, run a search query. This is a method we have to build. We pass the query, and we can pass also the from and size parameter if we wish. Okay. Let's implement that. So we have a query, from and size. How do you create your query? Again, you are going to use the client. I'm going to use prepare search method here. I want to search on a person index. I can search in multiple indices at the same time if I want. I can say, okay, I want only to search for some types. I want to execute the query I created before. Let's add the from and size parameter. It's super obvious. The pagination is fantastic here. If you have dealt already with pagination in databases, it's a nightmare. Here it's super easy and efficient. Okay, so sorry, the last part is I'm executing the query and I'm getting the result back. So this is my response, and now return that response here, change the method. Okay, so I have here a response, and we can just return the response to the caller as a string. Basically, the response is a JSON document, and I'm just going to send that back to the caller. Okay. Let's replace the advanced search part. It's super similar to what we have seen. I'm going to remove all that again. I'm going to code super fast. Yo, was fast. Oh, where is this? Okay, so same thing as before. If we have nothing provided in name, country, and city, it means that we want to run a matchall query to get all the document back. Otherwise, we want to build what we call a Boolean query. And if we have anything in name field, then we must match on the name field within the JSON document. If the user provided a country text, then we must match within the address.country field, and so on. And then we use the same DAO we have seen before with the query from and size parameter, and we send back the response to the user. Okay, let's see how it works. So, oops. We restart again. It's here. Okay. Let's wait. Okay. Okay. So now, when I'm going to type some characters, I'm going to hit Elasticsearch behind the scene. So if I search for Joe, does not work. G-O, G-O. Okay, only the full terms are working, not part of the term. This is something we need to fix later, right? But still, we have something working. I can search for France. Okay, it's working, right? If we look at the advanced search, same issue, but we will fix that. Joe and country France. Okay. Oh, I mentioned about relevancy. So if we search for Joe Smith, this is working. But if I search for Smith Joe, obviously this is also working now, right? So we have a better thing and better result. Also, you can see that Joe Smith is on the top of the list because it's really matching what we are searching for, right? And Joe also are matching. It's not, it's or here. Okay. We are going to fix the mapping, what we call the mapping issue. But first, I want to introduce another concept. If you are using the Java client for Elasticsearch, and even if you are not using the Java client for Elasticsearch, you need to use a feature called the bulk API in Elasticsearch. Instead of inserting one document per one document inside Elasticsearch, you need to provide, it's better to provide like a batch of documents to process and execute all that at once. To do that, we have a cool API in Elasticsearch, in the client, sorry, in the Java client. The name is the bulk processor. So I'm going to create that, bulk processor. I need also a logger here. Yeah, okay. So what does this processor is doing? This processor is working against a client, so this is the one we have built before. And you are going to fill this bulk processor with queries, and every 10,000 actions, it will execute the bulk and flush the bulk to Elasticsearch. This is what is going to happen behind the scene. Even if you don't have 10,000 queries ready, every 5 seconds, then we will flush the bulk. Okay? So this is what is happening. You can add your listener here and say, okay, I want to trace or to do whatever before the bulk is executed or after the bulk is executed. And after the bulk is executed, if I have really an exception, a strong failure here. What is the consequence for our code? Instead of using the client and explicitly indexing inside and using the index method inside this client, we are going to use the bulk processor and add a new request. And we don't need to execute that because the bulk processor is going to execute that for us. Same goes here for the delete request. We just need to add the delete request to the bulk processor and it will flush everything. Okay. So we said that we have an issue when we are searching for subterms for Joe, for example, when we are searching for G, it does not match. This is the default behavior of Elasticsearch, and I can explain that a bit when we look at what Elasticsearch is generating by default as a mapping, which is like the schema you have in relational databases. So the mapping which is generated by Elasticsearch is using all the default things. So if I look, for example, at the address.city field within my person type document, I can see that this field is seen as a text field, which means by default that we are only going to match on full terms that we are providing, right? So Joe will match, G won't match. And we need to fix that. And to fix that, we need to provide our own mapping to Elasticsearch and say, okay, don't try to auto-guess the mapping. I'm going to force you to use my own strategy. To do that, I'm going to use a library I built, which is open source. The name is Beyonder. So you have just to add this artifact to your Maven project. And then, by convention, it's a bit tinier. If you have a directory name Elasticsearch in your resources, and if you have within this directory another directory name, the index name, so person here, then Beyonder will use that, and it will try to see if you have, for example, a type.json file in it. So here my type is person.json. Yeah. Here I can force the mapping. So I can push this mapping using the REST interface of Elasticsearch, but here I'm using Beyonder to do that automatically for me. What did I set in this mapping? I set that address.city, it's still using the default behavior, so the text thing we have seen before. But at index time, I want you to generate another subfield. So the name of the subfield will be address.city.autocomplete. It's still a text type field, but I want Elasticsearch to use a specific analyzer, a text analyzer at index time, and another analyzer at search time. So I'm changing a bit the rules here. Also, what I'm doing here, I'm saying that at index time, what you have in address.city field, you are going to copy that in a generated field at index time, full text, which is created here. So this full text field will use the same analysis strategy we have seen before. And same for other field. For country field, for example, I'm copying this to full text again. I think I'm doing that for name, okay, and probably for gender. Right. So this is what I'm doing here. I need to define my Ngram analyzer. So to do that, I need to provide Elasticsearch some index settings, and Beyonder, again, can use underscore settings.json file, if available, and when it will create the index, it will use this file to set whatever settings you want for Elasticsearch, for example, the number of shards of replicas, if you know Elasticsearch already. And here, I just want to set the analysis process. Basically, I don't have enough time to explain what is the analysis process, but basically, you have to understand that I'm going to use a specific tokenizer. So for each term I have to index in the inverted index, I'm going to generate sub-tokens. So Joe, for example, will be indexed as G, G-O, G-O-E. Okay? So my inverted index will be bigger, but I will be able to search in it in an efficient manner. Okay. I need to call Beyonder at some point. Here, I have my client already. I can use Elasticsearch Beyonder, start it with my client. Basically, that's all. Try catch. Okay. I don't care. Okay. Beyonder won't delete existing data, and you won't be able to update an existing schema. This is the default behavior of Elasticsearch. So first, I need to remove the existing data inside Elasticsearch. So again, I don't have any index person now. And we can restart. And we are going to restart in debug mode now, because we will be to do really nice thing. Okay. Let's wait. We should see in the console something like, yes. So Beyonder is starting and working, rock and roll. Okay. If I look at my indices now, my index person has been created. And if I look at the mapping is the one we have defined in the resource files. Simple as that. Let's inject again, sorry, it's not here, 10,000 documents, or less, who cares, or 10,000, okay. So we are injecting the data now. But still, here in the search field, we are still searching for using the default behavior we have seen. So let's fix that. In the person service, if I look here at my search query, I was previously searching in all those fields. Now I generated a full text field, so I can use that. Okay. I can do even something better. I can say, okay, if I'm searching, let's search also in the name field, but if you match, I want to boost the result. Because if you are finding what you are looking for in the name field, this is more relevant for me, this is my use case, so I want to have the result on the top of the list. So I'm boosting the result here, simple. So let's compile that. Okay. If I'm searching for Joe now, okay, it's working. We have the previous behavior. And Joe, the Joe people are on the top of the list. This is what we expect. And same goes for France here. France. If I don't know how to spell France, that's an issue. Let's fix the advanced search as well. So it's still not working because we are still using the old behavior. If we look at the advanced search here, instead of searching inside name, we can search inside name.autocomplete, which is again generated at index time. Same for country, same for city. If I'm searching now for Joe, working. Where do I have a Joe? England, Plymouth. Okay, so we are back with the previous behavior. A lot of time, I have the question coming from the attendees when I'm giving this talk about, okay, you are sending data inside Elasticsearch within the same transaction as you are sending the data to the database, so maybe you are going to slow down a bit our application. Is that real or not? So let's do a simple test. I'm going to hack a bit my code here. Instead of calling the database, I'm just going to call Elasticsearch. I don't want to call that. So I'm going to call here my only Elasticsearch, right? Compiling. So now I'm using the bulk API, just Elasticsearch, no database. If you remember, I don't have anymore the stats. I think the rate was around 180 person per second, more or less. I don't remember exactly. But let's inject 10,000 documents again. Done. Okay, it was fast. So it's super fast. Let's inject 100,000. Okay, running fast. Okay, so this is not going to slow down your application, right? Let's do 1 million documents. Okay. And while we are injecting the 1 million documents here, it's still efficient for search, right? Joe, France, whatever. So it's working pretty fast. You can see the result here. It takes 4 milliseconds to search in that number of documents, right? We can do more than that. Because with Elasticsearch, you can also compute analytics on top of the result you have. We can try to understand our data set. We have a lot of data here coming, and we want to have a better overview of what are our people, where do they live, and so on and so forth. So let's add something else here in the DAO. I'm going to, in addition to the query I'm executing, I want to add what we call aggregations. Let me explain a bit what is it. So based on the result set we have, the aggregation framework is going to build a distribution of your data, here broken by country, on the field name address.country.ags. Ags is a subfield which is I'm generating at index time. I need to have a keyword type for that since 5.0 version of Elasticsearch, but whatever. So this is basically based on the address.country field. So it will give you back the 10 first top documents, terms that you have for this country field. So the 10 top countries here, and the number of documents associated with each bucket. Same goes for addresses. I want to compute an aggregation by year on the field date of birth. I want to generate a bucket for every single year, and I want to have the distribution of my document broken by year. This is typically what I want to do here. Let's compile that. I have already something in the interface, so I don't have to change the interface. If I think I'm done. If I'm updating that, yeah. So you can see here the result. Oh, my injection is over, by the way. So how fast was that? So yeah, it was around that number of documents per second. Right. Here, locally on my laptop. So I have the distribution of my document broken by country and broken by every 10 years, basically. So if I'm searching for Joe, yeah, it's super efficient. I can understand where are my Joe here in the world. Let's say that I want to click here on a field, and I want to filter my result set. I want to do what we call faceted navigation. It's not hard to implement. If I look at my code, where is it? Here. Maybe you have noticed that before. I have this filter by country and filter by date coming from the interface, and I can use that here to filter my results, my result set basically. So let's do that. If I have anything in the filter by country or anything in the filter by date, then I'm going to build a Boolean query again. I'm going to wrap my previous query in it, so it must match the previous query we have. And if I have anything in the filter by country, I want to filter by country. Simple as that. If I have anything in the filter by date, here I'm computing the end date, which is the date the user selected plus 10 years. And I'm adding a range query, so I'm filtering on the date of birth within 2 dates. So the first and plus 10 years. Let's look at this. Okay. Reload. So if I'm searching for Joe, again, in France, now I'm looking at Joe only living in France, born in the 70s. Okay? So I have a filter on navigation here. Can we do more? Yes, we can. With Elasticsearch, you can do also a tree of aggregation. So aggregation of aggregation of aggregation, which is super awesome. I'm biased, told you. Okay, so let's do that. Here I'm using the same terms aggregation by country, but then for every single country, every single bucket, I want to compute the distribution of my data broken by around 10 years here. And for every around 10 years I want to compute the average number of children I have. Okay? So country, per country, 10 years, per 10 years, average number of children. I need to change the interface. This is the single time you will see some interface code. Okay. To add a new feature here, let's compile all that. Okay, reload the application, and now I have this compute button, and you are going to see the effect. Okay, so this is the distribution of my more than 1 million documents here, broken by country, broken by 10 years, and the average number of children. Again, this is a search engine, it's powerful, right? If I'm searching for Joe within all that text, or if I want to search for only male, okay, I have the information I need, right? Cool. I don't know if you find that cool, but I'm finding that cool. Okay, back to slides. You have seen that we are injecting basically in a synchronous manner inside Elasticsearch. So within the same transaction, as I said before, I'm injecting data inside Elasticsearch. But what happens if I need to stop my Elasticsearch cluster? We have seen that we are going to send a lot of exceptions and maybe to log that. And if you want to be to the asynchronous way, you can do that using brokers. So basically, instead of sending the data to Elasticsearch directly, you can send that to a message queue system, then use the similar code we have written before, read from the message queue, and use the client again, and push that to Elasticsearch. You can use Redis, Kafka, RabbitMQ, whatever message queue system you want, others, of course, but those ones are really popular. And if you don't want to write yourself the code inside the application, which is reading from the message queue, you can use something like Logstash. So Logstash, again, is a tool built by Elastic, the company. It's open source as well. It basically helps you to stream data from a source, transform data on the fly, and enrich data if you wish, and push that to Elasticsearch or to other data store, if you want. So it's like an ETL streaming processor. And if you want to scale out Logstash, okay, just send multiple instances of Logstash and read the message queue again and again. Okay, come to the dark side. Just be afraid of the dark side, actually. So if you have any data within your company, which I believe you have, just give, I don't know, 1 day or 2 days within a proof of concept project, inject your data inside Elasticsearch, build the application like I showed you today, and once the data are in Elasticsearch, you have some goodies coming from that. For example, I mentioned Kibana previously. You can use Kibana to build dashboard like this. You just have to click and play and explore your data as you wish in real time. So it's fantastic. And it's under Apache license again, so it's free to use. Spasiba. Wow. That's it. So fork this project if you want, replay that at home. And also, I have some swag here. So I have stickers, business card, bottle openers. So feel free to take everything. I don't want to come back home with all that. So please take everything you need. And I will be around for questions. And I think we have some minutes for questions here as well. Yes, yeah. 5 or 7?
7 minutes, exactly.
Okay, cool. So if you have questions, feel free to ask.
Raise your hands. We'll try to pick you up with the microphone.
I hope it was making sense. Is that my French English okay? Or
hello, David.
Okay.
So I have a question. What is the size of an index, for example, when you insert about 1 million documents in Elasticsearch for the person index?
So the size. Let me find the answer, the exact answer. I think I have that here. The storage size here is that size for the index. So it depends on what you are doing. You have multiple strategies. For example, as I'm using n-grams here, you remember that? Instead of generating one single token for Joe, I'm generating Joe, but G and G-O-E, so it's taking more place. So you can't have a raw ratio between your source documents and the document you will have inside Elasticsearch, I can't give you a number for that. So it depends on your use case, and you have to test that. So here, this is the size for the 1 million documents.
Yeah, I think it's pretty little size for
it's
such
what?
size. I think it's pretty little size for such count of documents. Okay.
The documents are not that big. So some people are saying the total opposite. They are saying, and they are complaining about that. They say, oh, it's too much. Okay, I don't have a strong opinion. I want to be efficient. And to me, this space is not the issue nowadays. Right?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Question now?
Hello. So you show us demo with 1 million documents. That's pretty great. I wonder if Elasticsearch has some maybe limitations, even if you have all the hardware, all the instances you want, how much documents can it process still till all these aggregations start to, degrade?
So if I can say the question again to make sure that I understood the question. So one of the questions is how big can Elasticsearch Index can be, and are we sure that it is still able to process and compute all the data on the fly? Okay, that's the question. So how big can it be? If I'm taking Verizon, the US operator, for example, as an example, they are indexing, they have some, what's the number? 400 billions of data in their cluster of documents like this. They are injecting 1 million documents per second. Some other people I know, the most injection I have seen, the rate is 3 million documents per second, so it's a lot. And they are still able to process that data. How it works? Behind the scene, we are generating the inverted index, which is used for search. But we are also generating a column-oriented model inside Elasticsearch, like Cassandra. So on the fly, you have all that. And so to compute aggregation on top of column-oriented data, it's super efficient, right?
Any more questions?
Hello?
Hello?
When using this approach, is it guaranteed that it is every time consistent? I mean, these two different storages. Or there is a chance to lose some data in some storage and it will be inconsistent?
Okay, so I think that the question behind the scene is, can I use Elasticsearch as a data store? Is that your question somehow? Yeah, no? So the question is, what about the storage, and can we index on whatever storage we want? Was that your question? I'm sorry if I didn't get it correctly.
Sorry, it's about same data in both storages.
We are sending data in both storages, yes, in the database and in Elasticsearch, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
And is there a chance to lose some data in one storage and to have this data in other storage?
Okay, so how to keep everything synchronized? This is basically your question. It's a tricky part, really. When I was working at the French Customs, I didn't find a technical way for doing that. So what I did, basically, I was running every night audit of what I have in the database and in Elasticsearch. And if I had mismatch between dates, for example, then I was reindexing everything inside Elasticsearch. Because shit can happen. For example, I had a bad design of my cluster, and I had what we call a split brain in Elasticsearch. So it means that I was indexing sometime in one node and not in the other one. So I had this issue, and I had to reindex. So to do that, I was using the same system we have seen, and I was able to reindex live my documents. This is something also like easy you can do. With Elasticsearch, you have a notion of aliases. And instead of searching in a concrete index here, person, you can search within an alias. And what you can do with that is that when you search for the alias, Elasticsearch will translate that with the concrete index name. And what you can do is to reindex in another index. And when you're done, you just switch the alias, right? And then you delete the whole version of the index. If you do that, your users won't notice everything, and you will be able to recover from the source of truth. The source of truth is still the database, the MySQL database. This is what you have to trust.